You're watching Mars Today, and a big welcome back. We are on episode number 13. We're recording this episode on July the 17th at 12:23 coordinated Mars time. Today's episode is titled The Tower. I've got several interesting images to share with you guys. I hope you enjoy it. And let's get on with the show. Here we go. Let's have a look at our first image for today. On first glance, it gives the impression of just your typical rocky Mars terrain. But I wanted you guys to focus on one specific area towards the center of the image. And it's this area right in here. Okay. Take a close look for a few seconds. What do you see? I see high geometric organization and a lot of rectilinear features. It looks kind of like what I would call a square block, and I see what looks like some organized structures here. If you start from the bottom right, and you see a structure next to it and another structure next to it. And then you see this really interesting feature, which I find is quite anomalous. And it's a little hard to see, but I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Right here. Now this looks a lot like a tower of some kind. Now, if I zoom in, it does get a little bit blurry, but you can see how the tower rises. It's narrow and slim. And it's got a base. It looks like it has two bases, one level here and then one level here, and then here's the tower part of it. Let's just move this down a little bit. Now as we work our way around, up in here I see a lot of straight lines. Now these could be man-made structures, highly eroded, but very anomalous. Now, to get a better look at this tower, I've added some color, so let's move over to our next image and we'll have a look at that with the color added. Now here's our color added version. I added a little bit of light beigey brownish color to the tower to make it stand out a little bit more and give it a little bit more contrast. I'm going to zoom in, and I think this will help you guys visualize it a little bit better. Okay, right in here. Now I also colored this large object here. It looks a little like a domed structure. It's kind of roundish at the top, and it's got some type of protrusion. I didn't put the color here. This is more of the shadow, but still I found it interesting, so I thought I'd add a little bit of color to that. Now there's actually quite a bit more to this image. If you really want to break it down and do a forensic analysis of it, there's some unusual, anomalous things in it if you just really look around. And what I noticed is up in this region here, you see what looks like, it might give you the impression of a wall, but it's actually made up of parts. I see one here, 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 and here. And they all seem to be aligned next to one another. These could be ancient buildings, again highly eroded. And another striking feature of this is you see an intersecting line, a 90-degree angle line, which this could be another row. It looks like it's also made up of sections. Just have a look at it for a few seconds and hopefully you can visualize it. I realize there's quite a bit of blur, but you can still see it. And another section I noticed is this little area in here. This is even harder to see. But again, I see these large protrusions I see right angles in them, flat tops all through here. Again, this could be a grouping of man-made buildings. Again, this is a little bit hard to see, but I thought it was interesting enough to make note of. So let's just back out, and we're going to move on to our next image. Here's our next image. If you have a close look at this one, you can see it has a high degree of a lattice or grid-like appearance to it. You can see lots of rows of structure-like objects and a lot of right angles and a lot of rectilinear features. One of the most notable parts of the image, if you take a look at this area right up in here, this area tends to stand out more. You can see 2 rows of what look like potentially man-made structures. Down in here, you see this straight line that runs right through the center. This could be a roadway. It tends to stand out a little more. But if you look all through the image here, up in this area right here, and down in here, you can see everything is arranged in a geometrically organized fashion, at least as it appears to me. You can see this one large grouping of objects here. This looks pretty large. It looks like it's got sunlight on it, perhaps reflecting some sunlight. And I see down in here, again, everything in here looks like it's very well organized, even down into this area here. Now I'm going to flip the image 45 degrees. I have several renders of this, so let's look at it flipped 45 degrees. So I've rotated the image 45 degrees. Maybe this looks a little bit more visually striking. Instead of looking at it from an angle, you're looking at it more straight on. Again, you can see this feature right up in here. You can see the roadway. So there's not much else for me to explain with this one. I'm going to show you a different view. I've run it through the 3D depth viewer. So if you're not yet familiar with this tool, what it does is it can give you the impression of looking at the image from a much lower angle, essentially from an angle that would be closer to ground level. Sometimes it works really well and sometimes not so much. So let's have a look at the render that I did and see what you think. And here's the result. As you can see, the image now has the impression of depth, and it gives it almost a 3D look to it. And when you look at it from this angle, you can see it very much looks like a city layout. If you look again, the main road right in here, and you can see all the structures, buildings, all through here. I think this one turned out pretty good. What do you guys think? Please leave your comments. So that's about it, and we're going to move on. So we'll conclude today's episode. I think we're about done. As always, I hope all of you have enjoyed today's content, and we'll be back in the not too distant future with episode number 14. I hope you all have a great day. Take care, be well, and we'll see you real soon.